Okay, now the number one most admired quality of a coworker, according to a book called The Business of Communicating, is your listening skills. Now I've noticed you're awfully good listeners, so I have a pop quiz, can't get the college instructor out of me. So the next page of your handout, you have 14 characteristics of effective listening. I've given you the first letter of the missing word. I'm going to give you 3 minutes working with your dream team, the people sitting at your table. Let me know if you'd like to buy a vowel. But go ahead and share, see if you can get all 14 of these. It's the number one, not number 5, not number 10. The number one most admired quality of a coworker, listening skills. Knock yourselves out. You've got 3 minutes working together. You should be sharing ideas so loudly right now you're drowning me out. Okay, I think we have them all. Let's go ahead. Pop quiz, number 1. B, what's the M word? Motivated. What's a motivated listener look like? Okay, we sometimes call it stable nonverbal communication. Squarely face the other person. Tip your head occasionally. Attentive facial expressions. Remove the barriers. Lean forward slightly. And number 2, of course, make eye contact. People know you hear with your ears. They judge whether or not you're listening with your eyes. Are you making eye contact or not? Number 3, show interest, even if it's not interesting. Keep this in mind. The citizen or this coworker has decided to talk to you rather than do anything else in their life. It's interesting to them, so show interest. Number 4, avoid distracting actions. What are some of the distracting actions you've noticed in other people when they're listening to you? What do they do? Look away. That would be distracting. What else? Roll their eyes. Yes, that's distracting. Some people run their fingers through their hair. Some people pull on their ears. Some people check their text messages or cell phone messages or email. Some people take phone calls. No, I'm not busy right now. You're like, what? In the conversation with you taking phone calls? We all have a distracting action. Find out what yours is. Ask the people you work with. They know. Ask the people you live with. They'll tell you. Then stop it. Okay, next on that list. Demonstrate empathy. I can understand how you feel that way. I may feel that way if it happened to me. You have to help people feel normal. Then you need to blend with them, then redirect them. They are frustrated. They are disappointed. They are concerned. They are scared. They are worried. They are angry. So blend with that emotion. I can understand how you feel that way. Now the nice thing about empathy is there's 3 qualifiers in it. I can understand how you feel that way. I don't feel that way, but I'm trying to understand. So you're perspective taking or trying to see it from their point of view. I may feel that way, but then again I may not. If it happened to me, well, it didn't. It happened to you. But when you validate the emotions, it takes the fight out of the conversation. Next on that list, take in the whole picture. Yeah, the impact, the significance. How did we get here? What caused this series of events? What could we do next time to minimize the damage or to make it less inconvenient? Number 7, ask questions. Now the best questions to ask are what questions and how questions, because there are no wrong answers to what or how questions. If you ask a who question, there's one right answer. Where question, one right answer. When question, one right answer. You lob in a why question, which implies a judgment or evaluation, now you're going to be wrestling on the ground. So what do you think could have caused this? How else could we approach this? What would you suggest instead? And you ask what or how questions. It provides them tremendous flexibility in how they respond, takes the pressure off the conversation, and over time you will get the who's, the when's, the where's, and the why's without having to ask for them. So ask what or how questions. What, you'll get explanations. How, you'll get examples. Next on that list, the P word. Paraphrase. Yeah, paraphrase. There's 3 reasons why we paraphrase. One reason we paraphrase is because we do understand. The other reason we paraphrase is we're trying to understand. And the last reason why we paraphrase is because they need to hear what they've just said. People think faster than they can talk, and they sometimes put the emphasis on the wrong word. Changes the entire meaning of the sentence. Now, the other reason we want to paraphrase is because of this communication problem. I know you believe you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. Remember when we handed out the handouts, we said listener retention was about 25%? In that same study by Dr. Ronald Adler, he discovered that listening interpretation is also about 25%. So as human beings, we retain about 25% of what we hear, but only 25% of that was accurately interpreted. So if my math is correct, when we run out for lunch at 11:45, you'll have about 6.25% of what I meant. I can't tell you how many times I've been quoted for things I haven't even thought, let alone said. So we want to make sure we paraphrase. The other reason is this right here. While attending a marriage seminar in communication, Keith and his wife Carolyn listened to the instructor declare it's essential that husbands and wives know things that are important to each other. He addressed the men. Can you describe your wife's favorite flower? Keith leaned over, touched Carolyn's arm gently, and whispered, Pillsbury, all-purpose, isn't it, honey? So sometimes you might even want to get the transcript. I need you to all read this out loud for me, with me, please. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of years. And I'd like you to read through that one more time alone silently. Count the number of F's in that sentence. Read through that one more time silently. Count the number of F's. How many do you see in that sentence? Go ahead, shout it out. 3. Yeah, often the first answer will be 3. Now I've heard 5. There's 6. Yep, there's 6. It's finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of years. On first blush, we often don't count the F in the word of because we pronounce it as a V. And because we hear a V, we don't even see the F. So when people say to me, oh, I don't need to do all that paraphrasing, I understand. I don't know, we just missed 3 out of 6 F's. Sentence that maybe we could catch. I had to read it backwards to get the words. I couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it. I had to read it backwards. Next on the list is number 8, paraphrase. Yep, number 9, don't interrupt. Who interrupts who more often in the workplace? Do men interrupt women or do women interrupt men more often? Men interrupt women 4 times more often. But they included finishing people's sentences for them as a type of interruption. And we don't even notice it because when a woman does interrupt a man, oh, we notice. But men interrupt women 4 times more often. Number 10, interpret what's being said and integrate it into the conversation. And make sure you don't overreact. We often talk about this in my seminar on handling difficult people. All information simply comes through your senses. It's just raw data. No meaning's been applied to it. Listening's kind of like a funnel. The second step is interpretation, which is the intellectual question, why? Why would a person say this? Why would a person do this? Based upon that interpretation, which is intellectual, it immediately follows is a feeling. And once we're trapped in that emotional state, it limits our options of what we would say or what we would do when we feel like that. But we still need to express, and hopefully it's our best option. So let's say Scott and I work together, and I want Scott to take a look at my handout. Now, Scott, your lines are going to be, Kit, this is a pile of trash. You're a dork. Okay, that's what you're going to say. Kit, this is a pile of trash. You're a dork. Ready? Scott, I've been working on this handout for the last couple of weeks. I just want to run it by to see, what do you think of the handout?
Kit, this is a pile of trash. You're a dork.
Well, most people wouldn't even say it. Kind of said it like you meant it. Thanks. So anyway, Scott says, Kit, this is a pile of trash. You're a dork. I heard him say it. I saw him say it. Let's say my interpretation is, this must be a personal attack. Well, what would I feel like doing? Attacking back. And I say, I'm a dork. Takes a dork to know a dork. Hey, come with me down the hallway. There's a bathroom. There's mirrors in there. I'll show you a dork. Right? Those are my options. That might be what I'd express by go, wait a minute now. I went to that charm school seminar and working together better. Scott says, Kit, this is a pile of trash. You're a dork. I heard him say it. I saw him say it. You heard him say it. You saw him say it. Let's say my interpretation is, there must be something wrong with the handout. Then how do I feel? Curious. So if I feel curious, what would I ask him? What are how questions? What would I ask? What would you like to change in the handout? What would you like to do differently? How? How can I make it better? What would you recommend? Then if he says counseling, maybe it is a personal attack. But double check that interpretation. It has quite an impact on my feelings, my options, and I might just say, what would you like to see changed in the handout? Not take it personally. Because you know this. You don't get paid to take it personally. You get paid to respond professionally. You want to get paid and take it personally, go into private industry, go into manufacturing. They're still throwing wrenches across the shop at each other. You gave that up. You went to work with the city. You went to work with Public Works and the water department. You went to work representing your entire community. I'm sorry. You don't get the luxury to take it personally. Oh, you're citizens. They still get to take it personally. Some of your co-workers that barely keep their jobs, they seem to still have the luxury to take it personally. I'm sorry, you shut up here. You lost that luxury. Okay, next. Don't overreact. That's right, don't overreact. So understand your emotions so you can respond appropriately. And then confront your biases. That race, age, sex, ethnicity has got to be old news. But I think what sneaks in there is we had a conflict with this person in the past. You know what? We just haven't gotten over it. Well, you're going to have to wipe the slate clean. That's how the cards were dealt. That's how they played out. Life's tough for everybody. Get over it. Next, how'd you like to work with me every day? Huh? Number 13, make smooth transitions. Good listening is good conversation. And of course, number 14 is to be natural. If you do those first 13, that's supernatural listening. So I want to make sure it's normal, it's natural. So make sure you make a minor adjustment. So out of that list of 14, I'd like you to pick out 1 or 2 of those that you would do just a little bit better. You'd put forth just a little bit more effort, but pick out 1 or 2 of those out of that list that you will do more often, or at least more earnestly. Pick out 1 or 2 of those on that list in your handout. Now those are characteristics of listeners. The bottom half of that page are the reasons why we listen. Now there's 5 main reasons why we listen. Advise and evaluate, analyze and interpret, reassure and support, question and probe, and then paraphrase and understand. But it has quite an impact in our response. So I want you to think of that bottom half of that page like going up to a smorgasbord. You can select the steak, you can go with the ham, you can go with the chicken, you can go with the fish. There's got to be one other meat, isn't there? What? Pork. Pork, thanks. The other way meat, pork, great. So I want you to look at your conversation with your coworkers and say, what's my role? Do I select the beef this time? Do I select the pork this time? Do I select the fish, the ham, or the chicken? But you have options in how you respond. Now in a book called Communicating Today, written by Dr. Raymond Zuchner, he claims somewhere in the neighborhood of about 75% of our communication behavior is automatic. People come up, push our buttons, we're like a jukebox, we reach up, grab that record, give it a spin. I'd like you to scratch the records. So you have a different way you respond than how you typically would react. So there's 5 different ways we can respond. Now if it's advising and evaluating, usually the first thing out of our mouth is you should or you ought to. You know, if I were you, this is what I would do. Then the second one, analyzing and interpreting. You know what's going on here. You know what your problem is? You know why you feel that way? Now those first 2 you'll find are pretty easy to fill out. Then the next one, reassure and supporting response. I believe. And then you give them credit for a job-related skill or credit for a personal trait you appreciate about them. So you have good common sense, or you catch on to things quickly, you work real hard, something like that. And then the next one are what or how questions, questioning and probing, what and how, no wrong answers. And then the last is paraphrasing and understanding. If I understand you correctly, because we know 3 out of 4 times we don't. It's more intellectual conversation, you're thinking. If it's more emotional, feeling, you got to see if you can demonstrate that you are seeking to understand them better. So you have a little story here. And I'm going to ask you to script with the people at your table these 5 different responses. So a coworker says this to you. I'm really depressed. I have a good job. I make an adequate salary, but I'm not happy. I guess working's not all it's cracked up to be. Okay, so somebody lied to them. But anyway, I'm really depressed. I have a good job. I make an adequate salary, but I'm not happy. I guess working's not all it's cracked up to be. I have some money saved. I did not do too well in school before, but maybe I'll quit work, quitter, go back to school. I don't know what to do. So I want you to write 5 different responses. You should. And then you know what your problem is. And then I believe, and give them credit for common sense or quick wit or the ability to work hard. And then go what, how, and then if I understand you correctly, you're thinking or feeling, this usually takes about 5 minutes. So working together, come up with those 5 different responses to see how differently you can respond to the same conversation. 5 different options. Okay, knock yourselves out. Still have 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, I need everybody in the room to point your finger to the ceiling. I need everybody in the room to point your finger at the ceiling. Everybody in the room, at every table, point your finger at the ceiling. Everybody pointing your finger at the ceiling. At the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to drop your hands and point at the person that will be your team's spokesperson. 1, 2, 3. Oh man, it's pretty efficient, isn't it? Look at that. Oh, it's always controversial. It's efficient, but whew. Who did you select as a spokesperson?
Larry.
Larry, congratulations on being selected your team's spokesperson. Scott? That a boy, Scott. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at the very first one. I'm going to need 3 answers for each one of these, so we have a wide variety we can choose from in the real conversations that we have. So here we go. I keep getting the idea my boss is angry. No, I'm really depressed. I have a good job. I make an adequate salary, but I'm not happy. I guess working's not all it's cracked up to be. I have some money saved. I did not do too well in school before, but maybe I'll quit work, go back to school. I don't know what to do. Scott, I understand you were selected your team's spokesperson. What do you have for the first one? Kit, you should... You should evaluate your options. Thanks for the advice. Who's the spokesperson for this table?
Angela.
Angela, congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. Same one, advising and evaluating. Kit, you should.
You should try to take a look at everything and be a little bit more positive.
You should try to take a look at everything and be a little bit more positive.
Look at all of your options.
And look at all your options. Thanks for the advice. Spokesperson on this team, a lot of finger pointing going on here. And is it Charles?
Yep.
Congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. So what do you have for that very first one? You should.
Change your outlook.
You should change your outlook. Wow, thanks for the advice. Okay, now we're going with analyzing and interpreting response. You know what your problem is? Who's the spokesperson for this team? And your name is John? Congratulations, John, on being selected your team spokesperson. Kid, you know what your problem is? What do you got?
Evaluate your outlook on life.
You know what your problem is? You have not evaluated your outlook on life. Wow. I'm going to have to read a self-help book when I get home after that. Thank you. And now your team, who's the spokesperson? David, congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. So what do you have for that same one? You know what your problem is?
Whether it's job satisfaction or life satisfaction.
Yeah, you don't have any job or life satisfaction. Wow, thanks for psychoanalyzing me. Good. Who do you have here? Your name?
Hank?
Hank, congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. So what do you have? You know what your problem is?
We had a few.
You had a few. Okay, great.
One was quit or retire, but
So that'd be advising and evaluating. You should quit, you should retire. Yeah, but what about analyzing and interpreting? You know what your problem is?
yeah, we rethink your actions.
You need to rethink your actions. Okay, I'm going to think about that all night staring at the ceiling. Now, what do you notice about those first two? You should, you know what your problem is? Now, kind of confrontational. We say it creates a defensive communication environment because sometimes when I talk with you, I don't want to be told what I should do or what my problem is. I might be seeking one of the other three. Okay, here we go. Scott, reassure me, support me, help me scrape my self-esteem off the ground. What do you got? I believe what?
You do a good job.
I believe you do a good job. Wow, and if you said that sincerely, you'd even have greater impact. Nice. Angela, what do you got? Yeah, I believe what?
I believe you're a hard worker and try to contribute each day. Keep going.
Wow. Yeah, can you say that again really loud because you say it so nicely?
I believe you're a hard worker and try to contribute each day. Keep going.
Wow. Isn't that something? I believe you're a hard worker and you try to contribute each day. Keep going. Nice. Charles, I don't know if you can top that. What do you got? Reassure me, support me. I feel pretty good right now.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, oh, good. What do you got?
I believe that you're smart and you can be successful with whatever you do.
I believe you're smart and you will be successful with whatever you do. Wow. Very nice. I feel better already. Okay, I need some what questions or how questions. John, what do you got? What or how? We're going down to question and probing now. What or how questions?
Oh, what do you want out of life?
What do you want out of life? That's a great question. And then David, what do you got?
How long have you been feeling this way?
How long have you been feeling this way? That's a great question. Hank, what do you got for this? Question and probing, what or how question?
What do you want to, or where do you want to be in 5 years, and how can you get there?
Wow, where do you want to be in 5 years and how can you get there? Those are great questions. Well done. Okay, now we're going to go with, what's the next one? Paraphrase me and understand me. Who's the spokesperson for this team here? A lot of finger pointing going over here to Steve. Congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. Let me get that in first. Okay, paraphrase me, understand me. Kid, if I understand you correctly, you're thinking or feeling what? That you need to make some changes. No, that's not it. Kid, if I understand you correctly, isn't that fun? I love doing that. Isn't that something? Now, the reason I did that is because never forget this. Even if you sat there, listen to it, believe you fully understand, 3 out of 4 times we have it a little bit off. So you said, Steve, what? You need to make some changes in your life. So 3 out of 4 times I'm going to say, no, that's not it. What I'm really struggling with is this. And we just want to wrestle them to the ground with our hands around their throat. We're so sick of listening to them. So that's why we quit paraphrasing, because it takes so much time, it takes so much effort, it takes so much energy. And so you're not done talking about it yet. And I said, well, I don't know if it's that so much as, I just thought maybe, I'd have more time for my hobbies. And now we're off talking about hobbies. And then you're going to have to paraphrase and understand again. Well done. Okay, who's the spokesperson here? Jim? Yeah. Congratulations on being selected your team's spokesperson. What do you have for paraphrasing and understanding response, if I understand you correctly? You got nothing. Oh my God, we're back to analyzing and interpreting. Okay.
If I understand you correctly, you're unsatisfied with work and you're conflicted on what course to take.
Wow, so if I understand you correctly, you're unsatisfied with work and conflicted on what course to take? Did I do that? Did I parrot that back? Yes. Wow, it's quite an answer. Well done. Okay, one more. Over here, who's your spokesperson? Well, we got fingers pointed at you. Your name?
Mark.
Mark, congratulations on being selected your team spokesperson. This is it, the big finish. If I understand you correctly, you're thinking or feeling what?
That you're not happy with your current situation and you're thinking about pursuing something different out of life.
That's exactly it. That's it. Now this is your homework. From this day forward, I want you to turn this upside down, spend more time paraphrasing and understanding people, and then question and probing and ask her what, how questions to lead them to their own conclusions, then reassure and support them. You'll be all right. You'll figure out. You have good common sense. You work hard. You're smart. And you know what you might not have to do? Tell people what their problem is or what they should do. Wouldn't that be nice? If you could just balance that, 25% across the board there, 20% across the board, it'd be great. Now the reason they're listed in this order, this is the order in which we respond most often in the workplace. Nearly 40% of our responses are you should or you ought to. About 30% are, you know what your problem is or the reason you feel that way. You flip this upside down, you start to create a more supportive communication environment. Well done, that's not easy.